If you are in the market to buy a new eMTB, then testing them is certainly something that should be top of your list. Now, shops are great places to go and try a bike, yet they are a little bit limited in space. So we think that festivals should be top of your list. So within Europe, you have lots of them. You have in Spain, you have Ciota Europe, you have Winterberg in Germany, Riva Del Garda in Italy, the Eurobike Festival, and of course, here in Verbier. And the reason for that is that actually you've got lots of bikes to try. You've got beautiful terrain, you've got varied terrain, you've got good food, you've got experience from the staff on site. And also you get to see sometimes things that are a little bit unexpected. Okay, so you've chosen your festival to go to. What is the aim of your visit? Right, okay, so my hit list is going to be, you need to ride as many different bikes as possible with different suspension travel. Try 150, try 170, maybe even try 140. You need to try different wheel sizes, 29, 29, 29, 27.5, or even 27 front and rear. You need to ride all the different motors. You need to ride bikes of different specification, and most importantly, you need to ride bikes of different sizes, because the thing with sizing on e-mountain bikes is that different brands have got different ideas when it comes to the size of bike that's meant for you. Right, what does testing actually involve? Now, I've tested e-bikes for the best part of a decade. Prior to that, I've tested mountain bikes since mid-90s, and it comes in many shapes and forms. For example, I've been part of teams where the racers will have ridden different spoke tensions, different linkages, different shock tunes, and in some instances, different frame materials on one particular weekend to get the best feeling out of that bike. At the other extreme, I've seen testers say, ooh, this bike feels nice, but your aim, folks, is actually to get the bike that you feel most comfortable on. So in as much as I could tell you that some bikes feel more compliant or more stiff than others, I could tell you that maybe you need to get a different shock tune on some bikes. It's more basic than that, and I'm going to take you guys through some of the basics that you need to tick off when you're doing your e-bike test. Right, so before you come to the festival, don't forget to pack your essentials. You'll need your helmet, your gloves, your pads, and also a backpack and some method of taking notes whilst you're at the festival. But please do your homework. Now, have a think about everything you want to achieve when you're at the festival. So think about what wheel size you want to try, motors, battery capacities. Think about remotes and displays and possible apps that are applicable to the different bike you might be testing. Get some very trusted information before you leave the country. I mean, you might be in your country, I don't know, but please get the right information off the right people. Find some friends, find some people in the industry, find some well-recommended shops. So what I'm saying here is, don't expect to get accurate information from everybody at all the stands at different brands, because trust me, some people will know their stuff, some people won't. Another thing to bear in mind is you might think that you're going to be riding a bike which is the one for you, but a bike that costs £10,000 might behave differently in a specification that's £5,000. It'll have a different fork, it'll have different tyres, it'll have different wheels. So just have an open mind when it comes to that aspect of testing. Now, one of the great things about coming to a festival is, yes, you'll get to see a lot of the mainstream bikes, but also you'll come across some unexpected bikes. And I think in the last few years, Fulga has been one of the bikes. Great components such as the EXT shocks from Italy and also the Polini motor. So yes, whilst you get all these bikes with the Shimanos and the Bosches and the Panasonics, this is a very special motor. It's got great power, it's quiet, it's got good power delivery as well. So yes, please get to see some of the other bikes, but more than that, get to ride them too. Now, the great thing about coming to a bike festival is you'll actually get to meet people that kind of know what they're talking about when it comes to bike setup. So mechanicing on this Cannondale Moterra here is Jerome Clement, who's actually the winner of the first ever Enduro World Series back in 2013. I get reminded about this every day of the week. My wife wears the t-shirt. Anyway, that's a different story. So what Jerome is doing here, he's settling up this Moterra with the right suspension pressure. I'm hoping Jerome's going to put the right tyre pressure on the tyres, Jerome?
Of course.
Of course.
And the right saddle height.
The right saddle height. Jerome, there's so many things to factor in when you're setting up a bike for a rider, right?
Yeah, I mean, what we try to do is to have the tester have the best experience. So We go through the saddle, the brake position, the tire pressure, the suspension, and then they can go and definitely try the bike properly.
There you go, folks. Wise words from Clements. Now, when it comes to testing e-bikes, just bumped into Kevin. Kevin's from Chamonix and he's here at Verbier e-bike festival. Kevin, can you give us like a quick insight into your method of how you go about testing your e-bike here at the festival?
Sure. Well, first of all, I know what kind of trails I like to ride, and it's really well set up here, so you can browse, I think it's like 6 different test loops you can do, and you can pick one that sounds like your kind of thing, so I'll pick number 5. And after the first loop on it, you kind of get a feel, so you know that you can see how the motor feels on a really steep climb and which modes you need to be in and the combination of modes and gears that feels comfortable. And then there was like a Burmese section on the way down, so you can feel how responsive that bike is compared to the one you're used to. And then there's a more rooty, sort of slightly more gnarly bit, just to see how the suspension works and stuff like that. And my plan is to do that loop on every bike I try, so it's the same loop each time. Actually, there's a little bit at the end, which is called loop number 7, which is more rooty and rocky in the forest, which is more the kind of terrain I ride. Yeah. So we'll just chuck that in the end if I like the bike. If I'm not that keen, I'll just come back.
How many bikes do you reckon you'll test here over the
It's 11 o'clock now. We've done 2. We're waiting to do the Specialized next, so maybe we'll do 3 or 4 this morning, and then hopefully 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Okay, cool. Happy days.
Happy days, yeah. Hopefully I won't go home with too much ambition for the wallet. Could be an expensive day out.
Why not, eh?
Yeah.
Money, yes, tough subject, and I'm as guilty as you guys. 500 turns into 1,000, 1,000 turns into 2,000, and before you know it, you've got a loan on your hands. What I can promise you is that money, or more money, doesn't always equate to a higher performance. And that relates to 2 things. It relates to materials. Carbon is not always better than aluminium. And also, expensive suspension isn't necessarily better than mid-price suspension. And one other thing to really focus in on is the fact that one brand might actually offer a higher component spec for a lower price than another brand. Okay, folks, this is the big one. This is your opportunity to get the right size bike for you. And I don't care what anybody says, you will not be able to get the right size of a bike just by sitting on it in the shop or in the car park. It is only really of limited value. So to be able to get and ride on the trails, uphill, downhill, along and across, on small, medium, large, extra large, depending on the brand in question, is invaluable. Now, part of the reason for that is that a lot of brands might tell you on their website, blah, 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 this is the size for you. The problem is that all the brands recommend different sizing. And by that, I mean such things as the top tube, but more importantly, the reach measurement. Now, the reach measurement is from there to there to there, that kind of triangle. Let me give you an example. For me, I found out over the years that I'm probably around about a 470 to 490. I know that's a big range, but let me tell you, you can actually adjust the size of your bike in many ways. So if you buy a bike which is too small or too large, you can change the size of the stem. You can actually move the seat in the rails. That'll actually give you probably about a one size in range difference. One other thing to really focus in on is that a wide handlebar will give you a different feeling to a narrow handlebar. You might think that an extra large bike with a narrow handlebar might actually feel like a size medium. So this is the place to get it right, folks. You need to bear in mind that your perception, your idea of what's the right size bike might well come from the bike that you've been riding, and your bike might actually be a few years out of date. I'm now going to flash on screen some numbers which I believe to be really good numbers for a mid-travel bike, say a 150 to 170 mil-travel bike. Like I mentioned earlier, reach number for me, probably 470 to 490, but there's other numbers to bear in mind when you're buying a mid-travel bike, and those are the head angle, the bottom bracket height, the chainstay, and also the seat tube angle. Now the seat tube angle is super important on an e-mounted bike. 77 is a good number because what it does is it pushes your weight forward on the bike, which means there's more pressure on the front tire when you're climbing. Some brands say short chainstays are better. They might well be better in a downhill scenario, but anything under 440 you should actually be quite wary of, because those kind of bikes combined with a slack seat tube angle and they chuck your weight over the back of the bike, you're going to not have so much control on the climb. So sizing is important. but so too is geometry. Certainly one of the great things about coming to a festival, whether it be Verbier or anywhere else, is you will definitely get to ride a variety of motors. Now here today, you'll be able to ride such things as Bros, Bosch, Shimano, TQ, Panasonic, Yamaha. Now all of these motors have different characteristics. So when you get out and ride them, try to get tuned into the cadence and how they react to how you pedal. Think about the sound of the motor, try the different modes. Obviously some of these motors are going to have automatic mode. Some of them, such as Bosch, are going to have such features as extended boost. They're going to have Tour Plus. They're going to have different remotes and displays in them. Do you want a bike that's got a lot of displays? Do you want a bike that's got very minimalist displays? Try the bikes such as the Shimano. The Shimano has 2 presets. You can either have long range, sort of low energy use, or you can go for higher power and more energy consumption. Like I said, they're all very, very different. But believe me, I genuinely believe you will have a great time on all the motors. But one thing you should definitely do, and that is get to ride your e-bike in technical terrain. That's, of course, if you decide you want to ride an e-bike in technical terrain. If you don't want to, yes, you can pile up the fire road or catch the chairlift. But technical terrain is where you'll get to learn the most out of all of these motors. So why do batteries matter? Well, how heavy are you? What type of riding do you do? And also, how are you going to charge your bike? So think about the fact that some of these bikes you can remove the battery really easily, some not so much. But more than that, have a ride on bikes such as this Canyon, like 900 watt hours. The fact that it's got a lot of watt hours doesn't mean to say that it's heavy and wouldn't, because that's actually far from the truth. So get to try like a Canyon 900 watt hours, get to ride a bike with a 500 watt hour battery and see that actually it's more about the suspension design and not the battery capacity itself. Okay, we're talking testing e-bikes. This is Trent from Texas. Trent, is this your first time on an e-bike?
It is.
Whoa, and you've chosen the Meta SX. How'd you get on?
Oh man, it was fantastic. Yeah, like a dream.
And is this the only e-bike you're going to be testing today?
No, just this is the first one. So yeah, I hope to do several more before I'm done.
Right, what's your plan then for the day?
Keep riding, and then eventually, yeah, I'm in the market for one. I'd like to get one.
And what's on your hit list at the minute?
Scott. Yeah, French-made Lapierre. Yeah, something like that.
Right, cool. Well,
Yeah.
best of luck.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Now, we've just met another British person who doesn't actually live in Britain. This is Andy from Les Houches. Now, Andy, you've been on a testing mission today. How did it go for you?
Awesome, great day. Weather's been so kind, the trails are in really good condition. Managed to get 9 bikes ridden.
9 bikes?
9 bikes ridden.
There you go, folks. I told you, it's the place to come.
So I'm in the process of upgrading, so yeah, worth the effort of coming over and testing everything.
Tell us quickly what you did today.
Okay, specialised Levo, Lapierre Overvolt, Lapierre Zesty, Meridian, a Bayer, a guy's orange that was his own bike, and I said, have you seen that?
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, is you can find these unexpected moments, can't you?
It's magic, and the atmosphere's so good, and the people here are so friendly, and it's the bike vibe is the best it can be, so it's really cool.
So here's the question, are you a full power man or a mid assist?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
Is it really?
Well, since you put that thing on about the Trek, then suddenly I'm like, that suddenly becomes, I think I'm still a full power man, because...
Look, Andy, I am too. I think for technical trails, full power.
Chamonix, Les Houches, during the inter-season when there are no lifts, I can lap rather than going once and dying.
So, more riding tomorrow?
Oh, of course.
Really? How many bikes in the menu tomorrow?
I don't know. I've sort of achieved what I needed to achieve, so we'll see.
Couple of beers tonight then?
Couple of beers.
Nice one.
3 or 4 maybe.
Now, we've just bumped into Jacqueline and Michael from Switzerland, and they're here at Verbier testing some e-mountain bikes. Excuse me for this, because I forgot to bring the handheld mic. Jacqueline, you've gone from a decathlon when I last saw you to something a bit more sophisticated, right?
Yep, now I've got a Trek Rail 5, and I absolutely love it.
Do you think that when you rode the decathlon that you'd ever get to ride, or you'd ever want to ride a bike like the Rail?
I'm not sure really, because the Decathlon was the first ever mountain bike I'd actually ever had, so everything was new to me. But yeah, I just took to it, and now like I'm away on my bike every weekend. It's ace.
Wow, that's cool. Now, Michael, you've been testing a lot of bikes here at Verbier. What's your hit list? What's your strategy for Verbier?
Strategy for Verbier, really, I just wanted to test out a few different motors and a few different things that I'm not used to riding, really. So, not really in the market for a new bike, but I was hoping to see the Ride 60. The Diffuser.
It's good, it's good.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet, so I don't know if it's even here, but I fancy riding that because that could possibly be my next purchase. But I'm also really keen to try the Bosch ABS system.
Highly recommended.
I tried it, yeah. It was the first thing I tried when I got here, and I'm impressed, yeah. I mean, it's not going on the shopping list just yet, but it's impressive, and I think there's more to come from those guys with that.
So guys, you think, I mean, this is a great place, isn't it? If you're in the market to buy, I mean, this is what you should do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Well, this is how you ended up with your first e-bike.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. So we came here 2 years ago, just when COVID was kicking in, and Jack had just got the Decathlon bike, and I was still a skeptic at that point. You know, I don't really need an electric mountain bike. We came here, I took a few bikes out for a ride, and literally the next morning I was on the phone to a bike shop in Chamonix, and we went over there and bought a bike the next day. So that's a true story.
Wow, folks, there you go. Some wise words from Jacqueline and Michael. Guys, hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
Now, once you're doing your testing, think about the intended use of your eMTB. Are you going to be riding rough trails, smooth trails, bike parks, trail centres, or indeed natural terrain like we have here in Verbier? So think about whether you can be riding 120, 140, 150, 160, 170, 29-inch wheels, 27.5-inch wheels. But I actually believe that the sweet spot for eMTB is probably around about 150, like we have with this moustache bike here. Now, there is a reason which I mentioned, think about the intended use you'll have for your eMTB, and that's because you might well have the idea that you're going to be riding smooth single track or fire roads, but very soon you might get changed and think, well, actually an eMTB does allow me to do many different things to what you do on an MTB. So your mind might be changed. As we saw with Jacqueline, she went from a Decathlon bike up to a track rail in the space of 12 months. So you've gone from £1,000 up to, well, I don't actually know what model track rail Jacqueline had, but an eMTB will change the type of riding you will do. So just bear that in mind when you get to ride these bikes. Okay, now when you're at a bike festival, don't forget to try a variety of motors, bike sizes, and also get a ride on a lightweight bike and also a full power bike. They are very, very different. Testing, folks, it's a difficult task. It's actually a can of worms, and I can tell you honestly that after 25 years, every single time I go out on a different bike, I learn something every single time. So set yourself some achievable goals, try loads of bikes, try loads of motors, and also don't forget to try some new products, such as, you know, I mentioned the Polini motor earlier. Check out ABS braking. I mean, it really is, you know, if you're new to mountain biking, it's a fantastic product. And also, bear this in mind, is you'll go and try bikes in a certain place on a certain day, and you feel like you do on that day. You ride those bikes in different terrain, on different dirt, on different rocks on another day, I guarantee you'll have a different feeling. So just bear that in mind. Also, there's the feeling of adaptation. You'll adapt to bikes very quickly. So honestly, testing bikes is immense fun. Festivals are immense fun. Places like Verbier, like I mentioned, Rock d'Azur, Riva Del Garda, Ciotta, Winterberg, Eurobike. You can ride so many bikes. It's fantastic. So folks, please, let us know in comments. If you've got any questions, I'm here to answer anything you want to know about testing e-mountain bikes, I promise you. Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN also for lots of other e-mountain bike content. So I'm tired, I need a beer. That's another thing to do at a festival. But maybe before that, let's go and get an espresso, Matt, yeah?